Hi, now I'll share a little bit about chapter 12, which is also the final chapter. So, Unit 12, chapter 12 talks about the future trend in FM and smart building, and I have structured in a closed segment on the speaking to help you to actually pace your studies. So, with that, I just want to share the future looking of our industry, specifically in the trend of shaping the facility management and the smart building is kind of covered in this particular chapter. The core shift of facility management is undergoing a massive transformation. We are moving away from the purely reactive maintenance into an era where dominated by proactive, smart technology, aggressive environment, and sustainability goal. So today I'll break down into three key pillars: emerging smart technology, green building innovation, and integration of extended reality. So the first segment is about smart technology and data-driven facility management, so which sometimes we call AI and IoT. So let's start with the digital brain of the future building. The integration of the artificial intelligence and machine learning is vastly enhanced and enhancing the predictive maintenance, right? That's where we spoke about in chapter 11. So when we combine both AI and IoT, specifically the smart sensors, we created an interconnected building ecosystem which allow us to make real-time and data-driven decision rather than making a guess, right, when component fails or when things might fail. So the 5G on edge computer is to handle this massive data influx of buildings and adapting this 5G technology to ensure that we are fast, reliable connectivity needed to transfer data instantly. So alongside with 5G, we also see that there's a rise in the edge computing. Instead of sending all the data through the cloud, which is a little bit more expensive, edge computing means they actually process the data locally within the building, significantly reduce the latency and the speed up the automated processes. So that is about edge computing. Then the third point on segment 1 of the smart technology is about human element. So technology is also changing on how occupants interact with building due to health concern. There's a major shift in the touchless technology such as voice activated controls and also touchless access systems. So this ties into the modern workplace design, which focus on flexibility of work arrangement and environment that actively promotes employees being collaborative and productivity. So this is about what I just spoken is about segment 1 on the smart technology piece. So with that, we move a little bit into the segment 2, which is about green building technology and sustainability. So the Singapore Green Plan 2023 has a second major trend in environmental sustainability. So under the Singapore Green Building Master Plan SGBMP, the nation has actually set a target for at least 80% of new development by gross floor area to be SLE, super low energy building, from the year 2030. So the ultimate goal is to achieve green mark zero energy, or sometimes we call GMZE standards. So to get there, in terms of compliance, facilities must comply to some strict codes, which we spoke about in chapter 11. So for buildings and for codes of building sustainability, version 4 with the codes of the existing building, followed by some version 3 of the compliance for the code of environmental sustainability. So the whole idea is to have a practical low carbon solution. And how do we get there? One easy steps is to achieve the green marks score. So with that guidance, right, we can implement some low carbon technology. So some practical idea is also something that we can share about, is also about renewable energy. So we use energy like photovoltaic PV, solar panels to reduce the energy consumption, which actually in Ngee is probably about 6% of the total campus usage. The second one is about passive displacement ventilation. It's a clever system designed to specifically reduce energy by fans, right? And of course, this will actually helps the environment to be cooler. At the same time, you do not need to spend a more energy in terms of cooling the building. So the third part of some ideas of a cool low carbon solution will be something we call DOS, DOAS, Dedicated Outdoor System. So this is a high efficient HVAC setup utilizing two parallel systems, one dedicated used for the primary AHU, right, or PAHU, primary AHU, to cool down and dehumidate fresh air. The other piece is to handle both latent and sensible heat. So the second parallel system handles the sensible heat which used to be generated indoor, the sensible heat that is generated indoor, to actually cool the overall systems. So of course, other renovations are upcoming, and system recovery also applies to the features of regenerative futures. But the whole motivation about all this is beyond migrating from climate change, adapting to this technology drastically lower the operating cost. So industry is already moving very fast. To date, about 50 million building each has already been awarded by BCA on SLEB, right, super low energy certification. The third piece you might want to think of is some extended reality in facility management. So defining XR, and of course we can train and maintain these complex systems using extended reality, XR, and which complies like VR, AR, and MR, right? A mixed reality. So VR is basically virtual reality, and using computer generated 3D simulations, we can completely block out certain real environment using like headsets or highly immersive realistic space. We can actually interact with the space with safe and interactive building without being on site. So that's VR. AR is augmented reality, and augmented reality with the views of physical world, things like smartphone, tablet, overlay in the graphics, uses BIM information modeling, BIM, combined with AR, then you can see through the walls. There's a log stagnation to view and hidden and many services above, let's say, the ceilings or below the floor. Then we come to MR. MR is mixed reality. So devices like Microsoft HoloLens, right, smart glasses, emergence the physics and the virtual environment together. So one thing is like the Pokemon, right? The Pokemon where you catch Pokemon is like virtual environment that is embedded into the physical environment. So all these displays is kind of linked to the cloud, which has the virtual objects and centralized database that other computer will act as a control device to the facility live remote assistance directly to the site or on site itself. Alright, so having said much, the conclusion or to wrap up, the facility management is incredibly dynamic. It combines with smart technology like AI, edge computing with generative green building practices, and extended reality tools that we could create a facility that is not only highly efficient and sustainable, but also deep and responsive to the people who use it, so more humanized to it. So for the closing, I would like to thank you for your time, and happy to take any questions during class on how this technology can be applied as of today. Right, thank you so much.